Morning, good evening, good night, depending on when and where you're joining us from today. It is a beautiful day outside. Glad to be here with you in the automotive aftermarket as we talk about all those things that you just don't always have time to talk about. These are some of those discussions that are deep conversations that really help us to take it to the next level. Joining me today is a life coach, and we're going to talk about some of those things that will help save your life, help save your business, help save your marriage, help save your relationships, help save your communication with employees and spouses and clients and customers. This is going to be a great discussion. I'm super excited for this, and it's to be an interactive webinar. Interactive in how? In what way? How do we do that? We're not going to save all your questions for the very end for the Q&A. We want your questions in the middle of the discussion. So you have the voice. You are able to kick it in and join us in this conversation. So go to the comments button. And this is new for us. First time we're streaming live here with StreamYard. This is going to be awesome and amazing and so much fun. Click there in the comments button and put in where you're joining us from today so we can give you a shout out in the comments, just like that. See that there? It's going to give you a shout out. Super excited to be back on StreamYard. It's been a couple of years since I was on StreamYard, so I'm super excited to be back here in StreamYard to give you all a shout out and thank you for joining us as we're having this conversation. So type in where you are joining us from. Those of you who are on Facebook, you can join this conversation as well. You type it into the comments. Same with those of you joining on YouTube. Click into the comments and you can tell us where you're joining us from today. And since you are all being a little bit shy, or maybe you can't find the comments button, I don't know who's on or who's not. Love to give you a shout out. All right. Well, I guess we'll have to keep this to the three of us. This is going to be a great conversation we're having with the three of us. Hey, you know what? It is. It's going to be a great conversation. And those of you who are watching the recording, this is some of the great information that we at the Institute are able to give out to you as a shout out. And you know what? It does look like things are starting to work. We got Stu in the Salt Lake City, Utah area. And we've got the Institute for Automotive Business Excellence. Shout out from Ogden, Utah, Salt Lake. So yes, we are working. That's a YouTube. So it's working. Hallelujah. All right. So here we go. On to the next. And joining me today is Juliana Sih. She is a life coach with Crescendo Coaching, a phenomenal friend in the industry. We have done quite a few webinars together over the years, talking about communication, talking about marriage, talking about life, talking about running a business and running a marriage, and being partners and running a marriage, being partners in a marriage and running the business and not killing each other. So Juliana and I have had some really good conversations. I'm so excited to welcome you here, Juliana. Thank you for joining me today.
Yes, Jimmy, I'm so excited to be here again. What I love about the Institute is just helping the business owners grow, be their best self, and help their employees.
Yeah. Oh, that's so powerful. It's so powerful when we can make a difference. And that difference comes when we lock arms together and decide that we're not going to leave anybody behind. We are all going to make this storm together, because it's a strange and crazy storm that we're in. We're all locking arms together to make sure that we can weather this storm together. So with that, Juliana, what are we talking about today?
Today, we're going to be talking about the golden rules of listening. And I think this is a skill that is really a game changer, because I truly believe that leaders coach and coaches lead. And one of the great skills that I've been able to expand on, and I'm still working on it, it's a work in progress, is the skill of listening. So I want to teach your audience and your people and your shop owners all about this skill, that if you just have a little bit of awareness and a little bit of intention, you can increase your listening skills by 30%.
Nice. I'm down for this 30% increase. I am working on my skill of listening. So I'm super down with this information. I'm excited.
Yeah. Because really, listening helps to strengthen personal and professional relationships. It helps you to navigate difficult conversations, right? When you're triggered and you have like strong emotions inside, or your employee's triggered and you don't know how to be with them, listening is the key. So listening can help you break through communication barriers, and it can help foster deep and trusting relationships. So I want your audience to do just a little quick question. On a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to rate, how would you rate your listening skills? Just on a scale of 1 to 10. Just think about it, put it into the comments. I want to know where you feel like you're at with your listening skills. Jimmy, what do you think your listening skills are?
I think I'm at a solid 7.5.
Beautiful. And then for the audience too, just, you don't necessarily need to think about this now, but maybe just in the back of your mind, what would make it a 10?
Yeah, I think, oh, can I answer this one?
Yeah.
Because I think I have an idea. I think for me, it's putting away the distractions so that in that conversation, in that moment when we're having a conversation and it's one that needs full attention, which is all conversations, I need to put away the distractions and give that the full attention. Because as much as I like to think I can multitask, I really can't.
Beautiful. I'm going to actually talk about that a little bit later today during this master class. So,
Cool.
I mean, So listening is actually the most common communication skill that we use, more than speaking. We listen 45% of the time, which is almost about 8 hours of our day. And then we spend about 30% of our time speaking, and then 25% is split between like reading and writing. And the statistics are pretty sad on listening. Only 2% of people are formally trained in listening, and it's people like coaches or therapists. And most of the money that is spent on personal development and communication skill all goes to speaking rather than, and very little on listening. So today I want to talk about, why does this matter? Why does listening matter? I want to talk a little bit more about some of the statistics. I have some things I want to read off here. I want to talk about the difference between passive listening and active listening. And then we're going to go into the 3 golden rules. Then I'm going to share the rest of the rules with you. And then we'll go into some Q&A in case we don't answer all the questions before that. So as Jimmy shared with you, my name is Juliana, and I'm a leadership coach. And I help leaders find their authentic leadership style so they can make a bigger impact. I've been doing this full time since 2018. And as a coach, my main job is to listen deeply, to be radically curious, and to ask thought-provoking questions to evoke new awareness. So what I've done with this masterclass is I've really condensed what I've learned in the past 7 years as a coach and put it into really layman terms so that I can teach a business owner or a spouse and leaders in the community to deepen their listening skills. And really my mission with all that is to elevate conversations, one deep conversation at a time. Because all the time I hear this in my practice is like, I hear people telling me that they haven't shared what's on their mind with other people, right? Like I get that all the time. Like people know and trust me for a reason, but I don't think I have anything special. I think I just listen more deeply and people then open up. So that's why I care about teaching this topic. Here's a few reasons why I think you should care, right? Miscommunications happen all the time. If you can listen more deeply and you can understand the other person's lead, it's going to lead to less disagreements and unresolved issues. Likely, if you're not a good listener, there's a lot of frustration. People may stop sharing openly, which can lead to feeling of resentment or isolation or being left out of a conversation. And I know as a shop owner and as a leader, you don't want that. Frustration is an energy leak. There's a lot of missed opportunities also. Poor listening can cause you to overlook valuable information, feedback, or potential new ideas. And of course, limited growth. Bad listeners miss out on learning new perspectives that could spark personal development and make better decisions. So really, when you can be a better listener, you can be more efficient, effective. People will trust you and you'll have more influence either in your community or in your business. Because I know as business owners, as leaders, you want to be more efficient, right? You want to catch key details the first time and reduce miscommunications and unnecessary back and forth. You want to be influential. You want to get everyone aligned on the same page. You want to be able to solve problems faster by really understanding the real issue and not the surface level issues. You want more collaboration. You want people to work together, clearer communication and stronger relationships. And that's really the power of deep listening. You want to be able to make good decisions, right? When you listen deeply, you can gather insights. You can ensure you don't miss the critical information that's needed to make a really powerful decision. And you also want to build influence. Influence is built when people trust you, and people trust you when they feel heard and seen, and they feel important. And that's what listening can do. So I hear this quote often. It's like, don't be the most interesting person in the room, be the most interested.
And oh my gosh, Juliana, right there, you just hit on a solid topic, almost another webinar. Two things that I hear when I hear you talking about communication and listening. As you can imagine, in high school, in college, and in life, people remind me that I have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So I need to listen more. And I'm trying to listen more. I'm trying to listen and be better. My mind tends to go pretty fast, and I try to hear what you're saying, but my mind is, and this is my fault. This is where I'm trying to draw back and listen better rather than anticipate what your problem, issue, concern is. And I'm trying to fix it before you even get to your point. I need to listen better instead of thinking ahead. Are you going to be talking about that as well, where people
Yes.
want to solve all the problems and they don't even know the problem?
Yes, Jimmy, you bring up such a good point. Really, there's a reason why this happens, and it's scientifically based, right? So our brain is brilliant. It can process up to 400 words per minute. And the average speaker talks about 100 words per minute. So that's only 25% of your brain power. Guess what it's doing the other 75% of the time? We have our inner chat, right? You're either like maybe judging, trying to give advice, you're trying to mind read is what you're trying to do, trying to anticipate what they're going to say so that you can try to solve their problem, or you're trying to one up someone, or you're just daydreaming, right? Someone's talking about their weekend, you're like off thinking about the vacation you had 5 years ago and that pina colada that was delicious. So I think part of it is like, how do we refocus that 75% or 60%, whatever it is, to something else so that we're actually present with the person? And I am going to talk a little bit about some of the things where you can put that beautiful brain power that we have to good use.
Nice. Awesome.
So there are some different levels of listening, and this is kind of something that we don't really think about, right? There's the internal level of listening, level 1. So I want you to picture yourself at a restaurant. You're sitting with a person on the other side. Maybe you're on a first date or someone you admire. And then the waiter brings you the menu. And you're looking at the menu, and this is where you're at level 1. You're looking at the menu and you're like, what would look good right now? What am I craving? The focus is on you. The spotlight is on you. Should I have a drink before I start eating? What appetizers sound good? So that's level 1. All right, let's say you ordered some spaghetti and meatballs and you're happy. And now level 2, you're focused listening on the other person. Your sole focus is on them. It's like the whole world could fall away and it would just be you and the other person. That's focused listening. You're paying attention to what is said and not said. You're paying attention to their nonverbal cues. So that's level 2. The spotlight is not on you, right? Level 1 is on you. The spotlight is on the other person. So we're going to be talking a lot about some strategies to be more in like level 2. Level 3 is global listening. And level 3 includes the action, the inaction, and the interaction. And it includes like all your senses, not just your hearing, but also your senses, your intuition, You know, when you get that gut feeling, someone tells you like, oh, I'm doing fine, but deep down you kind of know like something's up. That's global listening. That's level 3 listening. So I just want to distinguish these 3 levels because we all have access to them. Global 3 takes a lot of practice. The most influential and successful people are able to practice at a level 3. They're able to read their impact and adjust accordingly. So some of the statistics that I already shared with you about listening, I told you they're a little sad, and that's okay. This is why I want to teach this, and others already teach this, to change that narrative, right? Only 2% of people have formal education in listening. 75% of people are preoccupied while listening. They're either thinking about their to-do list, what to say next, just waiting for the other person to kind of like stop talking. 80% of organizations spend money on speaking, but they don't spend money on listening and building the listening skills. So it's all about like talking and how to talk more effectively, but not on listening. So we're kind of in a crisis in listening just because there's not enough resources spent on that. I'm going to share a few other statistics here that I found. A survey found that 96% of people believe themselves to be a good listener. There's actually, Google did a 3-year study on trying to figure out what their most effective teams did, what made them different from other teams. And what they found is that the most successful teams were better listeners. They're better communicators. They had, you know, when someone speaks, everyone listened and their ideas were all exchanged and shared. Everyone felt heard and seen, and they were like contributing. So the most successful teams have good listeners, where people can feel heard and seen, and they have this sense of safety within them. The funny also thing is that most people believe they're a good listener, but they think they're a better listener than they are.
Oh yeah. No, of course, right? I mean, we always think that. So to the Google analysis, were these teams trained and taught how to do this, or they just discovered that they were better listeners?
They just discovered, like, an outside party was evaluating these teams, and that's what the outside party discovered, is that these teams had really good communication skills internally in their team. Everyone felt like they were contributing to the whole, and everyone felt like their ideas were being heard and valued.
Oh, that's fascinating. Fascinating that Google would analyze that within their own company to see what makes a good team great.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of the other statistics here: listening to 30 minutes or more of nagging, complaining can negatively affect the brain problem-solving skills. Active listening is identified by 64% of HR professionals as the most critical leadership skill. Being able to actively listen is shown to increase productivity and collaboration by up to 25%. And it's also shown to reduce the number of misunderstandings by 40%. So a really, really valuable skill to have. I shared this a little bit earlier, but we spend a lot of time listening. 45% of our time is spent listening. 30% is spent speaking, and then around 25% is writing and reading. So I would love to hear from the audience a little bit about what they think. Oh, hang on, let me switch my side. Let's talk a little bit about the good, the bad, and the ugly of listening. So I want to hear from your audience just a few things about what they believe is a good listener. What makes a good listener? Just put into the chat, in the comments, just write for the first thing that comes to mind when you think of a good listener.
Well, and while we're waiting for people to chat in, something that it just reminded me, I saw on Facebook, Reels, and on TikTok, is that we listen and we don't judge. So judging would be one that I need to work on to make sure that I'm not judging when I'm receiving information. But then the second, as a good listener, would be that I am listening, not multitasking. So something that goes a long way for me when I'm talking to somebody or giving instruction is for them to acknowledge. Acknowledge goes a long way in my book. Attentive. Ryan says attentive.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Using mirroring, repeating what they're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that Mary said this because in that mirroring, the sender of the information is able to hear what you heard. And it might not be what they meant to say. It might be, oh my gosh, now that I'm hearing that back, no, wait, there's a couple of changes we need to make to that because da 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 da. Yeah.
Yes. You bring up such a good point. When you mirror and when you can be that reflective mirror, like then they also know what they're saying. Because most of the time people don't actually know what's coming out of their mouth. They have some ideas, but then things slip and you know, they don't know what they're saying. But by being a mirror, they can learn about themselves as well.
Yeah, and I like John's suggestion here too, and there's a fine line. I don't know if you can talk about this or not, Juliana. In asking questions, is asking questions are good and important, but at what point does it go to an interrogation from the receiver's side? You're asking me questions. Where at what point does it go from you're asking me questions to now it feels like you're just interrogating me?
Yeah. That really has to do with the quality of the question. You really want to make sure that it's not pointed,
Hmm.
right? Like if someone's telling me about like their marriage and they're struggling and I ask, well, why don't you just divorce them? See how
Mm,
pointed that is and how like instead of like, oh, what aren't you happy with in your marriage? So it really that really depends on the quality of the question that you ask. You want to make sure that A, you're being curious, you don't know the answer,
mhm.
right? And also you're not leading them somewhere. And you want to ask an open-ended question, not like a yes no question, which usually starts with a what
Mm.
versus like a did or how goes sometimes into explanation, and people can feel a little bit defensive also when they have to explain themselves. But there's a purpose and reason for those types of questions as well.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Something that I've discovered in my communication is acknowledge. Before you go asking me the next question, I need some sort of a verbal cue, body cue that says you're hearing me, you're listening, you understand. There may be affirming, confirming, acknowledging, or saying yes and
Hmm.
that goes deeper into it. So if I get a barrage of questions, probably three in a row without acknowledgement, then it feels, and I'm discovering this about
Yeah.
me. I'm 51 years old and I'm finally learning these things that
Yeah.
I feel interrogated.
Yeah. And yeah, you mentioned something really important to asking one question at a time.
Yes.
When
Oh,
when
yes.
you stack questions, people get overwhelmed. They don't know where to start, what to answer first. So really like, asking good questions, the quality of the question matters, making sure it's from curiosity, but also, yeah, asking as simple question as you can. Long-ended questions are also make it very difficult because then there's like some explanation in there and other components. The most powerful questions are the simplest.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I learned 15 years ago about asking multiple questions at the same time. They'll only answer the last question.
Hmm.
The first two, they don't even remember what they were, but they'll answer the last one.
Yes. Yes. Beautiful. So good leaders, we have a very good responses here. They're attentive, they're focused, they're connected, and they're responding either by nodding, acknowledging that they're either hearing you, seeing you, or in the conversation with you. All right, let's talk about a bad listener. What are the qualities of a bad listener? Or just like someone who's not, yeah, I don't like the word bad, but a bad listener. Let's talk about that. What are some of the qualities of that?
I think distraction is top of the list,
Yes.
or dismissive.
Mm,
That is right up there with being distracted. Dismissive. Yeah, my concerns, my questions, my comments, my concerns have no weight in your world, and you're going to just dismiss me.
yeah.
Mm, maybe I didn't say it right. Maybe we need to repeat this. But yeah, dismissive. That's a
Yeah,
tough one.
right. It makes you feel like disrespected or not important or just like they're not even listening, right? They interrupt. Uh, Bad listeners also are closed-minded. They just want to like share their ideas and they're not actually even it doesn't even feel like they're allowing what the other person's saying to enter.
Yeah, it feels in those situations, it doesn't feel like a discussion. It feels like a instruction.
Yeah.
Like I'm being instructed and told what to do, where to go, what to think. And that's not good. Nobody wants to have that type of a relationship with a business partner, a client, a spouse.
Yeah. People really want collaboration.
Yeah.
And that's where like the listening skill can really come in, is like if you want to collaborate on a solution, right? Everyone has input, then everyone's enrolled, everyone's aligned, everyone's like ready to go because they all felt like they contributed and they're part of the whole. Something else that makes people a bad listener, they're too busy. They're distracted. They're, they're on their phone. They say they're listening, but you kind of know they're not.
Some that I've seen before is talking over. Here I am telling you about a situation or a story or some information, and it's as if though I'm not even there, or I'm not even talking, because somebody just comes and blows right over the conversation, takes right over it.
Yeah.
That's very frustrating.
So common, because we all want to like relate it to ourselves also. And we don't mean to bring that spotlight back on us, but we unintentionally bring it back, right?
Yeah.
So it's like initially it was on you and then they want to bring it back to them, but not intentionally. It's just like a very subconscious thing very often.
So what's a way to be able to do that so that we're not doing that? It's about them. It's not about me. They're telling me about a problem, a question, a concern. And I guess that it's just focusing with full intent on making the conversation about them and zero about me. Is that the listening skill for that one there, Juliana?
Yeah, the listening skill, again, it goes back to that our brain power. Like our brain has such a high CPU, and we're not using all of it when the other person's talking. So it's just about where can I put my focus so it's not just going back on me. So it's about listening to the content, right? Making sure you're understanding them. It's about reading their moods and emotions, like the subtle things. It's about like noticing if they have any vocal changes that are happening. Like, if someone says they're really, they say the words, "Oh, I'm so excited about something," but the voice isn't, or the like body language isn't there. That's where you tune in. That's where you put the energy when you want to actively listen.
Yeah.
So when you're just listening, you're, focused. You're focused on the speaker, but you're not fully in it with them. You might be kind of disengaged. You might be doing something else. So that's not really active listening.
Yeah.
Active listening is more on the, sorry, just my slides. Active listening is more being fully with the speaker. It's having the spotlight being fully on the person. You're understanding the speaker's message. You're understanding their feelings. You're understanding their perspective. You're putting yourselves in their shoes so you can try to understand them completely. And you're focused on understanding and responding thoughtfully. And you take into account those verbal and nonverbal cues to understand. You make eye contact. You're present with them. You ask clarifying questions. How often has someone been talking to you and they're chatting about something and you're lost, but you're just like, yeah, right? Instead of pausing and being like, actually, hang on a second. I'm not quite sure what you're saying there. Can you clarify that? So active listening is all about, engaging in the conversation and ask those clarifying questions and paraphrasing. So active listening aims to understand. Passive listening is just hearing. Active listening involves reflective responses and asking clarifying questions. And it involves the whole body, not just the words. It involves the mood and the motion, the body language, the vocal changes. So that's where all that CPU can go, right? Because in listening, the thing that we're doing often is we're judging, I don't mean like bad judging, but we're just judging what the person's saying, whether it's good or bad, whether it's right or wrong. We might be trying to give advice. You're like, I know the exact solution to make this person successful. And then you're thinking about all the advice that you want to give. But unfortunately, that's not active listening. We all have really good intentions. We want to help people, but the best way we can help people is by active listening. So the thing about listening is we often think we are better at listening than we really are. Studies showed that managers will rate themselves high on listening, but their employees who report to them will rate those same managers as poor listeners. So we all think we're like better listeners than we are. And I think that's just because we have a lot of blind spots when it comes to listening. You know, we learn listening from our families, peers, and our life experience, mostly through trial and errors, and we've just compounded over the years. They have become habits that we don't even realize are getting in the way. So like I mentioned earlier, just a little bit of awareness and some intention can go a long way when it comes to listening. All right, we're going to get into some of the rules now. And Jimmy, you are so spot on with some of the things that you talked about earlier, because the golden rule number 1 is be present. And I know this sounds repetitive and simple, but we have to put it into practice. Because this is one of the key ways to really be with the other person. We got to be present. You know, we're often thinking about the future, the past, how it's gone, how much you know this person, how much you know about their problems, that then we can't be with who they are in this moment. I'll share a story about a time with my boss. Hang on. Oops. When I thought I was being present and I wasn't. So I was in a one-on-one with my boss, and they were walking me through some like crucial technical aspects of my job. And she was like dropping some gems, some insights, things that would have made me better, faster, more effective. But where was I in my head? I was miles away. I was like thinking about some personal problem that needed fixing. So on the outside, I looked like I was listening. I was nodding, making eye contact, even throwing in the occasional but I wasn't actually there. And then I realized at some point that I was just completely lost, and I had no idea what she was just saying. And instead of owning up to it and interrupting her and being like, hey, can you like repeat that? Or can you say that again? Some way to get back engaged in the conversation. I was too embarrassed to just do that. So I just kept nodding, hoping she wouldn't notice. And by the time I walked away, I knew that conversation had been really a complete waste of time. I had missed something important, something that could have helped me grow, simply because I wasn't truly listening. And here's the real impact, right? Not only did I miss out, but my boss wasted her time pouring knowledge into someone who wasn't even present. And that's the thing about listening. It's not just about hearing the words. It's not just about like doing the gestures. It's about showing up and being fully present and respecting the person speaking by actually taking in what they're sharing. Like one of the key ways to build respect is by acknowledging and listening to the other person, especially in a world of so many distractions. So one of the things you mentioned earlier, Jimmy, was put away your distractions. One of the simplest things we can do is put away our distractions, right? I don't need you to throw your phone out, but yes, put your phone away, put it on silent. If you're on a Zoom call and you know all your windows distract you, close them all down. Keep it simple so that you can put all your attention onto the other person. If you know that being in the office is distracting for you to be present and you can't focus, go have a one-on-one out on a walk. Get creative with what works for you. I tell people, like, if you're meeting someone at a coffee shop and you know you're facing the door is going to be distracting because you're just going to watch people going back, in and out, like face the other way. So these are just like simple things you can do to start being more present with people. Because at the end of the day, people are always revealing something about themselves for a reason. And as a listener, it's your job to try to find out, why are they telling me this? Why is this important to them? What does it say about their values, their worldview, and what they care about? And I think one of the things that we forget is we have to be responsible for minimizing distractions, right? Like like when me and my husband try to have a conversation and the kids are around, we can't have a conversation because, 2 minutes in, my daughter wants something, the other one's crying. So I have to be intentional and create a space. Honey, let's talk when the kids are asleep. And then I have to remember to go back and do that. So this can look many different ways for each relationship in your life, but you need to figure out what works for you, right? To be present. If it, I think we talked about this in another webinar, Jimmy, where When you cross a bridge, you don't talk about any more work, right? If you work together and are married and have a business together, like you have that bridge where you don't talk about work anymore. That's very similar. Like be present, like set yourself up to be present. Get curious with the other person. Create an internal game for yourself. Ask, why are they sharing this? What has them sharing this? Why is this important to them? What are they experiencing as they share them? So getting curious, asking questions. And I think the thing that we really forget is it's okay if there's silence in between. We're so used to thinking that we need to fill in the space, that we need to think of our response. We don't. If there's like a 3-second silent pause, that's okay. Just let them know that you're thinking about your response and you're really absorbing the information that they're giving you. Oh, I realized, sorry. The other thing to do is start a simple practice of meditation. I think one of the most important things that we can do as humans in general is like learn how to quiet our mind. And that's what presence is also with other people. If we can learn to quiet our mind and train ourselves either through meditation or through other practices, then that can really help people be present. Something else that you can put your focus on as you're being present is notice if someone is stating some contradiction. Like if someone is saying that they're doing fine, but they look really sad, or they're saying that they're really excited about something, but then on another sentence they say they're really mad. Start noticing those contradictions. The real powerful thing about listening is that you can help the person speaking see themselves in a new way. Okay, we're gonna go on to golden rule number 2. Jimmy, you talked about this too, so I love it. Listen without judgment.
Yeah.
And I don't mean judgment like in a bad way. I think this is, what is judgment? Let's talk about that for a second. Judgment is a mental habit of labeling or categorizing someone's word. We're literally judgment making machines. That's how we evolved. That's how we've probably survived, is we need to be able to evaluate people fairly quickly. But it is also probably holding us back now. It's often based on our past experiences, past conditioning, and often it looks like being right or wrong, agreeing or disagreeing. And it's really a self-protection mechanism. Part of the reason why we judge is because, well, our egos like to be right. We want to be right. So it's a self-protection mechanism. We don't want to be vulnerable, so we try to fill in what we already know about the person, so we don't have to be in the unknown. Like, for example, if you label someone as, let's say you're going to go into a conversation and you already know this person is kind of like, you think they're a jerk, right? You're going to experience them as being a jerk just because you already have that prejudgment about them. So that's kind of the impact of judging, is that it's a filter. It acts as a filter in our listening. If you know you're going to meet someone and they're energetic and fun, you're going to show up differently than if you think they're a jerk. So those judgments will filter what we hear and what we see in the person. Does that make sense?
Oh my gosh, yeah, it totally does. Not only from prejudging somebody for what you think they are, but there's also that judgment that says, under these same circumstances, I had something similar happen to me before, and this is what I learned from it, and this is what I want to avoid. You may need to ask more questions, because not all circumstances are the same. Not all conditions are the same. It might be a different situation, and asking more questions will help you to discover, yes, you've had this great experience in the past that's helped you to ask the right questions today to avoid conflict.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what judgment does. It really shuts down our curiosity and our empathy, which are like 2 cornerstones of listening. And then we think we can mind read or know who they are. So letting go of judgment is really important when it comes to listening. And it's all about awareness with judgment. Like, what are we judging about? What do I think about this person? Sometimes it's as simple as just like writing out what you think so you can see it on paper. And the real reason why letting go of our judgments is important is because then we can understand the context of a conversation. And the context means understanding the full story behind what someone is saying. When you understand your judgments, you can move the conversation from content to context. So content is just like what's being said, the words, facts, data, surface level information. Context is the deeper meaning behind what is being said. Includes emotions, intentions, perspectives, the bigger picture. You want to get like the 10,000 foot view of why is your employee telling you this? Like, do they have a suggestion? Do they want to make an improvement? Are they struggling and frustrated? Do they need time off? Sometimes when people are sharing, they're all in the content. And if you can put your judgment down and you can get to the 10,000 foot view, then you can understand their context of the conversation. You don't want to be in the weeds as a leader. You want to be in the context, understanding the bigger picture of why they're sharing what they're sharing. So, context, what's being said, staying here leads to reacting rather than understanding. Just imagine like, I can't believe I have to stay late at work again, right? From content, you might be like, oh, well, maybe it's really busy. I'm sorry you have to stay late. Maybe you're going to try to make them feel better, right? Versus maybe if you're looking at it from a context point of view, you're going to understand what's really being expressed. Are they frustrated? Are they feeling unappreciated? Are they feeling disrespected? Are they feeling like their boundaries aren't being honored? That's the power of being able to up-level the conversation and getting into the context. So context means understanding the full story. It means what's really going on here. What is this person feeling or need right now? Behind every complaint is a need, but people don't know how to share their need directly. So they might be complaining or be shut down. It depends on the person. So if you want to stop judgment in real time, there are a few things you can do, right? Take a breath, breathe, and just like try to bring yourself back into the present, because the judgment is all up here in our head, thinking, right? Get back down to the breath. Acknowledge the bias. Maybe recognize, I like to name my judgment. I like to name him Bob. Oh, Bob's around. Like, oh, is he like trying to protect me? What does Bob need right now? Right? Because it is a self-protection, like judging is a self-protection mechanism. And sometimes it's needed, but also acknowledging like, oh, Bob's around. Oh, Bob, I don't really need you. You can be in the back seat. Thanks. I got this. I can drive the car.
That's funny. That's really good. Acknowledging the bias. I think that is probably going to help me a lot going forward, because I want to listen better. I want to not judge according to past, and I might have to park Bob for a minute.
Yes.
So I can listen without the prejudice of things of the past.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, something that I also find helpful that I didn't share in the being present is maybe find something that helps you be present, right? When I started coaching, I would just doodle on paper. I wasn't like trying to be an artist, but I would just doodle because it would help me to listen better by just like writing on my paper, like drawing little things on my paper. So sometimes maybe it's like you have a squishy ball where it's just like, that physical thing that helps you to be present.
Right.
But yeah, and also naming that part of you. We all have different personalities. We all have like a little internal family, and they all have different roles, but they're not always needed. Bob doesn't need to be here. Thank you, Bob, for being here. I see you. I hear you. Take a back seat, please. Stopping judgment in real time can look like asking questions, right? If you're asking questions, you're more concerned with the other person. You're not in your head judging. Or do an empathy check with the other person. Like, oh, what is this person actually feeling? Like, put yourself in your shoes, and that will get you outside of your head, inside of the judgment. And the outcome of that really is helping the person that you're talking to feel understood, connected, seen, and heard. It's really all about them feeling safe with you, because that's when they trust you, and that's when you have more influence. All right, moving on to golden rule number 3. I think someone mentioned in the comments before, but we're going to talk about it. Reflect and rephrase. So
Mary was talking about that with the mirroring, repeating what they're saying. So yeah, thank you, Mary. That this is rule number 3.
Yeah, rule number 3. And this practice is really powerful because when you reflect and validate, it shows the person not only that you're listening and you're there, but that you truly understand them, that you honor their experience. And these are some of the keys to building trust, empathy, and stronger connection. Because as I mentioned earlier, most people don't know what is coming out of their mouth. So being their mirror helps individuals gain clarity and insight into their own thoughts and emotions. And knowing this will help them make more informed decisions. Also, this is a great way to use some of those CPUs of our brain, is it ensures that we're listening and understanding what they're saying, because people just want to feel understood. And the simplest way to start a rephrase and reflect conversation is just say, like, what I'm hearing is. I think people think that, like, you have to parrot the exact same words, and that's not what you need to do at all. You need to summarize and rephrase what the person is saying and make sure that you're on the same page as them so that you're really getting what they're saying. The power of this reflect and rephrase is amazing in resolving conflict, because it shifts the focus from me, the spotlight on me, to the other person, right? And that's important because when we're in a conflict, there's a lot of emotions in the space. And the conversation is often not very constructive. Let's say, for example, I tell my husband, you never help around the house, right? If my husband goes into like, well, actually, I take the garbage out and, I did this for the kids and I did that for the kids, that would not lead to any good, fruitful conversation, would it? Now, if he said something like, sounds like you're feeling overwhelmed with the household chores, how can we balance things out? Can you see how that would be a very different conversation from going into defense? Because then there's collaboration. Then it's people getting on the same page and feeling heard. And that's the power of rephrasing and reflecting, is like people feel heard, they feel seen, and they open up to you. And it also reduces emotional escalation. When people are in emotion, people tend to react quickly. When people react quickly, we want to go into defense. We want to use that self-protection mechanism. When we can rephrase things, we slow down the conversation. We tune into the present and we slow things down. And then the reframing helps shift from the negative emotions to potential solutions. So the next time you're in an argument, I challenge for everyone here, use the reframe and reflect and see what happens. It's a game changer, because you're not going to go into defense trying to defend yourself. You're going to go into potential solutions.
Juliana, I really like that because I personally feel like when I'm attacked and I go on the defense, I need to put in a whole ton of grace into that situation, which I'm going to implement going forward, is reflecting back and trying to certainly de-escalate the situation about the house and the chores and not doing things.
Yes. And then there will be collaboration. You'll be on the same page again, because when you're on the opposite team, you're fighting, in some way, shape, or form. And reflecting and rephrasing will help you get back on the same team with some solutions versus just talking about the problem. Here's why this works. It reduces misunderstandings and emotional escalation. It promotes empathy and understanding and connections. It shifts from a reactive response to a thoughtful dialogue. And it encourages collaborative problem solving. So I was going to, sorry. So here's the practice. for you to take on. The next time you're in a conflict, the next time you want to use this reflect and reflave, just pause and listen fully. Focus on the words that are being said. Focus on what they're doing with their body language. And then rephrase it. Rephrase what they said to you to make sure you're understanding. Because when we're in our emotions, we have that filter, right? We have like a similar filter to judgments. That can all emotions make us poor listeners, to be honest. Like when we're excited or also negatively, like if we're frustrated. So that makes us our listening goes down when we're having those strong emotions. So by rephrasing and reframing, you can get back to the present and make sure you're in the conversation. So here's an example. No one at work is listening to my ideas, right? Someone could say, oh, that's not true. Like, I listen to your ideas. You have really good ideas. You might try to be making them feel better. You might try to be like minimizing their experience. But the power of reframe and rephrase is, oh, it sounds like you're feeling frustrated and maybe even a little dismissed. That shifts where the conversation will go. So I have a practice for you to do a homework. I want you to practice with someone. You can do this with anyone, whether it's with your spouse, with your business partner, but I just want you to, for 2 minutes, just share a little bit about the context of this exercise. For 2 minutes, I want one person to share a short frustration, and then the other person's just going to listen. And then they're going to practice rephrasing and reflecting. They're going to listen, they're going to practice rephrasing and reflecting, and then just switch. So go practice it with your partner, go practice it with a friend, get someone enrolled in doing this. I wanted to do this live, but we don't quite have breakout rooms like I was hoping. So do this at home, though. Do this at home. Because really, I mean, I want you to imagine a world where you're running a meeting and everyone's feeling heard and engaged. Kind of like at Google, right? The best teams, they feel heard, they're engaged, they feel like they're making a contribution. Imagine if your team was running like that. Imagine if your relationships with loved ones or colleagues felt easier with less conflicts. Imagine instead of reacting, you could be fully present and listen. That's the power of building the skill. So just to kind of recap, we've gone through the 3 golden rules of listening. Stay present, listen instead of judging, reflect, and rephrase. Now, I created a cheat sheet that I want to share with y'all where it's going to help you to nail communication. This cheat sheet has like kind of all the golden rules plus a few things. And what I want you to do with this guide is I want you to download it. I'm going to have a QR code on the next slide. And then I want you to print it out. Print out this cheat sheet. And then I want you to practice one of these each day. Use the KISS message method. Keep it simple. Just pick one and utilize that one per day. The great thing about listening and deepening the skill is that intention and practice go a long way. Literally, you can increase your listening skills by 30% just by kind of knowing these things and practicing it regularly. So here's a QR code for the cheat sheet. Go ahead and do that now. Print it out. Pick one that you do daily. Put it in your office or somewhere you can see it, and then practice it consistently. Literally, you can change the way you listen with just something as simple as this. And then, of course, there are a few more golden rules to listening, right? We talked about the first 3 today. And then, of course, there's asking powerful questions, which we kind of touched upon as we were talking. The next golden rule is be curious. The next golden rules is watch for those nonverbal cues, whether it's in yourself or others. And number 7, acknowledge and stay silent. So I know we're up at, how are we doing at time, Jimmy?
We're right up at the end. I mean, like professionally, you've ended exactly on time.
Okay, I'm just going to leave it at that. I did have a few more things to share, but if anyone is ready to learn more about the next golden rules, please book a quick call with me. And I'd be happy to share more because I do have a little mini course kind of sharing all of these 7 rules that I'm going to be doing. So if you're interested in learning more and you want to unlock the 7 golden rules, please book a call with me and we can chat about it. And then that's it.
Nice. Oh my gosh, such great information, Juliana. Thank you so much. This is how people can communicate with you. Send an email to coach@julianasih.com. C is SIH.com. And this is your office phone number, 831-245-5362.
Yep.
All right. Very good. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Juliana. And I hope that we can be better listeners. It's definitely something that is hard work. It's something you have to consciously, effectively do every day, all day, is listening to yourself, listening to that other person.
Yes, and that's a beautiful thing. You can practice every single time you talk to someone. You can just be like, oh yeah, let me practice that presence. Oh yeah, let me practice that rephrasing and reframing. There's always an opportunity to practice. And they're simple, but yes, it's hard, Jimmy. It's simple consistency, just like learning the piano. But
Yeah.
we all have the instrument already. We just got to learn how to use it.
Yep. That instrument's there. We got to learn how to use it. And once we do, we'll play beautiful music. Nice. Well, thank you very much. My name is Jimmy Lee. I'm with the Institute for Automotive Business Excellence. My guest today, Juliana Sih, with Crescendo Coaching, a life coach. She is a tremendous friend, and I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Talk to you guys soon. Thank you.